Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our Westchester County 2021 Budget Forum. I'm George Latimer, Westchester County Executive, and I'm joined tonight here at the dais to my far right, Emily Saltzman, who is the Deputy Director of Operations for Westchester County, and to my immediate right, Ellen Hendricks, who's the Assistant Director of Intergovernmental Relations. She will serve as the timekeeper tonight, and Emily as well will help as we go through this process. Before we begin anything else, I'm going to ask you to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. This is, to put it nicely, an unusual set of circumstances, as we've all experienced now for the 8 months of COVID, as various activities that have been canceled and various activities that have had to have been reimagined look a little bit different than they have in the past. But what we're doing tonight, and I'll explain a little bit about the budget process before we begin to hear our speakers, is we're taking testimony from any individuals representing their own point of view or from an organizational point of view as input in the preparation of Westchester County's 2021 budget. Westchester County operates on a calendar year fiscal year, which is the same as most of the towns and 4 of the 6 cities in Westchester County. That means that on January 1st, we begin a new budget year, and we have to adopt a budget for that year before the end of this year. And the administration, the executive branch, is required to put together a budget and present it to the Westchester County Board of Legislators on November 10th. That gives me the opportunity to introduce Mr. Damon Marr, who is with us today. Please stand, Damon. He is a Westchester County legislator representing a portion of New Rochelle, as well as Eastchester and the village of Tuckahoe. Damon, thank you for being with us. Damon and his colleagues will receive a budget from us on November 10th, and in their scrutiny of the budget, they will have the traditional public hearings that you're familiar with, both at the county level and the local government levels as well. Cities, towns, villages, school districts all have public hearings on budgets. What this meeting is a little bit different. We started this 2 years ago in 2018, my first budget preparation as county executive, asking for people to give us input prior to the completion of the budget. Many times, individuals look at a budget and then have to be reactive to that budget and express what their concerns are and how they'd like to see things work out. Legislators do have the opportunity to make any number of different amendments to a budget, and of course the executive has the right to accept those changes, veto, line item veto, all the stuff that goes into the process. But we thought it would be helpful if we invited citizens who are interested to express their opinions before we finalize the budget, in the hopes that we can include some of those priorities if that's possible. It may not be possible, and so you get another bite of the apple after the executive branch finishes its function, when the legislature holds their 3 public hearings before their final adoption of the budget, and those public hearings will be announced by Chairman Ben Boykin and the members of the legislature at whatever time is appropriate. So our purpose tonight is to hear your point of view of what you think should be in the county budget, understanding that you don't know what's in the county budget yet because we don't know what's in the county budget yet. So this is sort of an open-ended listening process. Now, because of COVID, we will do this both in person and by virtual means, and that's why I have this big screen that's in front of me. We're going to hear testimony from everybody who is physically in the room tonight first, so that you have the opportunity to leave and go home and, reduce whatever exposure you might have to COVID. You're welcome to stay if you'd like, but we're going to try very hard to get people in socially distanced fashion, so, we can rotate people in and out, and we would probably prefer after you testify that you do leave, although you're not required to leave. Emily Saltzman is here. She represents, as Deputy Director of Operations, along with Joan McDonald, the Director of Operations, the 2 key individuals within our government that are supervising the overall budget preparation for the county. Our Budget Director, Larry Sewell, and Assistant Budget Director, Gideon Grant, are watching virtually the testimony here. Deputy County Executive Ken Jenkins is also watching. He has been a bit under the weather, and he'll be back in the saddle in a day or so. But for right now, he too is participating virtually, as are other members of our executive team. So we're here in person, but we're also here in spirit. Ellen Hendricks' responsibility is to serve as the timekeeper. We've allocated 3 minutes for each person to speak. We always know that it's hard to get everything in under 3 minutes. You're certainly welcome to submit written information, testimony of whatever length you see fit. And we have working with us both Peter McCart and Diane Atkins, who are with us here at the back table, along with Catherine Chaffee, our Director of Communications. And if you do have any printed testimony, please leave it with them. We'll make sure it gets circulated not only to the executive branch folks, but we're going to share it with the Board of Legislative members as well. And you're welcome to addend to whatever you submit today as you consider other issues and elements. It's a fluid process at this point, and we still have a few weeks before we finalize some of these decisions. We're going to try to stick to the 3-minute limit as close as we can. When we reach the 3 minutes, I'm going to ask you to please wrap up your thought so that you complete it, but be mindful of the time. Ellen will give you a yellow caution light, 1 minute left, and that does not mean speed up to beat the light. That means know that you've got a minute left. And then the red folder is a dead stop at 3 minutes, out of courtesy to all of your other folks. As I said, since you can submit testimony and you'll have other bites of the apples with the Board of Legislation, there'll be plenty of opportunity for you to get your point across. You can comment on any issue that you think the county should deal with, whether we're dealing with it now or not, but please try to keep it within the context of a budgetary issue. There are other forums and other times to talk about more general issues, pieces of legislation that you think should happen, administrative actions and changes that you think should happen. Tonight is really about the budget. And if the dialogue is about the state or the federal, the school district or the city issues, I'm going to stop you and redirect you either to a county-related input or thank you for your comment, because we want to keep it focused on what our mission is here tonight and give everybody a chance to go home afterwards. So if I've missed anything, Emily, would you like to share any thoughts before we start? Okay. Very good. Thank you all for coming. Very good. So if you wish to speak, we ask you to fill out a card. The card does not ask for any personal information, basically your name and any affiliation that you might have. And I will read them in the order that they're given. They've been numbered when the cards have been submitted, I assume based on the time of your arrival. So I will announce the next speaker. I believe we have a microphone over there that you can speak from. And then I'll announce the next two speakers that will follow that person so they're ready to know what order they're going to go in. If anybody needs to be taken out of order because of any emergency need, please let our folks in the back know that. Child care responsibility, something like that, and we will reprioritize if there's an emergency. But absent that, first come, first speak, and we'll sit here and we'll listen to everybody speak, and then we'll go visual and have those individuals speak as well. This is as different for me as it may be for you, and we'll figure out how well we do it once we get online, but we'll do that, and that's on the WebEx. So without any other further ado, our first speaker will be Noel Gordon Jr., speaking on behalf of the New Rochelle YMCA. And then after he's finished, Dr. Beryl Dorsett will be speaking, and then Marie Parker. So, Mr. Gordon, you get lead off. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Good evening, Executive George Latimer. My name is Noel Gordon. I'm the new Director of Administration at the New Rochelle YMCA. I have also had the opportunity of being a Westchester resident for over 20 years. Last year was the first year that the YMCA has been able to be in the budget in over 125 years. Thanks to your great support, the great support of County Legislator Terry Clement, as well as the Westchester County. We appreciate the county's support in our senior programs, our after-school programs, our early childhood programs, our universal programs, and also our senior programs that we have. We hope that you'll continue to support us in these programs. The Y provides essential services to the community, especially to the vulnerable of the youth and seniors. Thanks to the county's funding, the Y was also available to provide affordable quality programs to those who might not have been able to afford it without the county's budget. Although some parents get assistance from the county Department of Social Services, sometimes the funding takes months for us to get while we still have to pay our staff. We appreciate your support that we've received so far. However, We would appreciate the county investing directly in our summer programs and helping in the support in the working families as we go thus far. Without the services of the YMCA, many parents may not be able to go to work, and maybe children might not have food to eat. Children also need an outlet, which the YMCA has been able to provide as well. Thanks so much for your time and consideration as we move forward with this issue.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gordon. We appreciate it. The next speaker is Dr. Beryl Dorsett, and she will be followed by Marie Parker and Karen Heim. And if I do mispronounce your name, please correct me when you come to the microphone, and my apologies in advance.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone, and I want to thank you very much for the invitation to this most important meeting. I want to say that I represent the YMCA, and I am a senior citizen, and I've been there for many, many years, and I'm representing the senior citizens who are now in attendance. I want to say that I'm very grateful for our director, Jennifer, who has done a magnificent job keeping the place clean and beautiful and thinking of ideas of what we can do for the seniors. I would like to add that we should have more discussions besides just the sit in the chair exercises, that we should have more verbal discussions like on nutrition. How do you avoid hunger, the quality of food, and also things as where are the marketplaces, where should you shop to get the best value for your money? And then also I would like something about preparation of life. How do you prepare yourself for life? What do you do? What do you put in writing so that one would know what needs to be done? So I want to thank you very much, Mr. George. We appreciate very much the opportunity to speak before you this evening.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dorsett. Our next speaker is Marie Parker, representing the Mount Vernon United Tenants, and she will be followed by Karen Heim and Dennis Hanratty.
Good evening. Thanks for having me this evening. Okay, Mount Vernon United Tenants is a citywide tenant membership organization with 300 plus members whose mission, the use and or control of housing stock in Mount Vernon for low and moderate income people, informs all of our work, and I am one of those tenants. Okay, currently it costs the county of Westchester $40,000 or more a year for the family of 4 to reside in the shelter, and that also applies to single people. Mount Vernon United Tenants saves about 150 or more people from eviction every year. This agency helps navigate with Homelessness Prevention Program, Tenant Action Project, and Policy Advocacy. Mount Vernon has been providing principal and effective tenant assistance for over 30 years. As the only funded and staffed tenants association in Westchester, our work and advocacy are essential in protecting and extending tenants' rights. Thanks for having me, and I had applied for services, not at this agency, but another agency. They said my gross income exceeded the 125% of the federal poverty level, which is overrated. Also, thanks for having me to speak, and I also feel that this agency is an asset to the community, and please fund it. Thanks for having me speak.
Thank you very much, Ms. Parker. Our next speaker is Karen Heim, and she will be followed by Dennis Hanratty and Jennifer Ryan Safsell.
Good evening. Thanks for the opportunity. It's great to be heard. I'll be brief. It's nice that so many people came out tonight. I and my colleagues are here because, like most people that are associated with Mount Vernon United Tenants, we came as clients. 5 years ago, I was 68, unemployed, getting Social Security, and about to be homeless. I could never have survived it without Mount Vernon United Tenants. I would be in a shelter today. I never would have gotten out. A lot of people don't know that if you live in a homeless shelter, you are eventually charged. So you have nothing but Social Security. You will never get out. You're not going to find a job at 68 or 69. However, when I found them, they walked me through the court process, found me temporary housing and a permanent apartment. So in 5 years, I now have volunteer employment with Mount Vernon United Tenants. I'm also proud to be a board member, and I couldn't have done it without them. They do more for their bucks. You get more bang for the buck with Mount Vernon United Tenants. For all the people that are kept from going to a shelter, it saves the county money. They deserve some money. So that's why I'm here. I don't want to belabor the point. I think you got it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Heim. Since I'm going to be celebrating my 67th birthday in a couple of weeks, your testimony hit home to me about employment opportunities at a certain age. Very well placed. Our next speaker is Dennis Hanratty on behalf of Mount Vernon United Tenants, and he will be followed by Jennifer Ryan Safsell and David Locklear.
Good evening, County Executive and staff members. Thank you for having us tonight, having this hearing. I'm the director of Mount Vernon United Tenants, and you heard a couple of our members who've successfully gone through the system and now volunteer at Mount Vernon United Tenants. That's, for the most part, what we do. We depend on volunteers. We've helped so many individuals weather the storm, and it's a very difficult situation. I've got handouts for people, and they're going to talk about our 3 programs. Our main program is our homelessness prevention. We spend probably the great majority of our time, 60, 70% of that. We stop over 150 evictions a year, save the county oodles and oodles of money. As Marie mentioned, it costs over $40,000 for one family. We stop 150 evictions a year. You can just start. Not everyone would end up in the shelter, but a certain percentage would. So we save the county literally hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars. In addition, our second project, our Tenant Action Project, where we organize tenants. And the benefit there is that we see reinvestment in the city that wouldn't otherwise happen. Tamara Stewart, who's on the Westchester Rent Guidelines Board, is not here tonight, but she's submitting testimony. She's organized 4 buildings in the Plaza buildings in Mount Vernon, an extraordinary organizing effort. That's resulted in over $1 million being reinvested in that property that wouldn't have otherwise happened. Our third project is our policy advocacy, where we work on policy issues. A lot of you in the county board passed the source of income legislation. That started with Mount Vernon United Tenants. We initiated that whole campaign. Right now, we've initiated another campaign that we're very much involved in, the right to counsel. And we're going to be having a demonstration, or not a demonstration, but a press conference and rally around the corner from you guys at the Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, the statue for right to counsel. We'd like to see the county adopt a right to counsel ordinance where income eligible tenants would be, represented in court.
For those of you who are joining us remotely.
In courts right now, less than 3% of tenants are represented by counsel, and well over 90% of landlords are represented by counsel. It's a very, very imbalanced dynamic. We want to level that playing field a little by the right to counsel thing. Housing is still the most intractable problem in Westchester. And one of the reasons we need money now, we've been getting about $25,000 from the county. I'd like to see that get over $100,000, because what's going to happen, most of you are aware that there is a moratorium now on evictions as far as non-payment cases. That's scheduled to end January 1st. We're going to be overloaded with cases at that time. It's going to be a crisis situation like none of us have seen before. And I think as we're looking for the next budget, you got to invest money in organizations like Mount Vernon United Tenants. We've got our fingers in the dike right now, but it's going to be coming unbelievably into the new year with the evictions. We're right on the front lines. We've always been there. People know this. Not only Mount Vernon, we provide our services throughout the county, and people know us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dennis.
For those of you who are
Dennis,
joining
when
us
is the hearing?
remotely,
The
all
rally you
participants are
mentioned?
muted
It's,
upon entry,
Thursday,
and the video is
November
disabled at
5th,
this
10
time.
o'clock.
If you would like to make a statement to the panel, County Executive, please
Okay,
notify
thank you.
us
Our
via the
next
Q&A
speaker,
section, and you'll
excuse
be
me, Jennifer
placed
Ryan
in a queue
Safsell
to
on
do
behalf
so.
of the Rochelle
You will be
YMCA.
notified that
She
you
will
are
be
next to
followed by
speak
David
via the
Locklear
Q&A
and
panel.
Rachel Halpern.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Ryan Safsell, and I'm the CEO of the New Rochelle YMCA, and I'm a proud member of the Westchester Women's Agenda. I also have been a resident of Westchester for over 23 years. It goes by fast. So I want to thank you all for your support this year, because most people know that the New Rochelle YMCA was founded in 1899 here in New Rochelle. We serve Pelham, New Rochelle, Mount Vernon, and the Bronx, as well as Larchmont and surrounding communities. But a lot of people don't realize that last year was the first time the New Rochelle Y was in the budget. So we appreciate that. We were in the budget for senior programs, for expanding our after school and enhancing our after school programs for our children, as well as for trying to get some help in early detection for children with special needs in our UPK and after school classes, so we can help children get on the right track. This was a great investment for the county, but more so what happened in this unique year was when we were hit by COVID-19 first here in New Rochelle and had to close. The funding we got for the county was critically important because our membership, we couldn't charge members for our normal gym and swim and lessons. And what kept going was our universal pre-K that we did remotely. And then we went to full day summer camp. We were down for 3 months and we got a PPP loan, and we came in and we did renovations and we painted and we got a lot of things done. And actually the New Rochelle Y was the only full-time summer care program in New Rochelle. We did 9 weeks without COVID once. And now we've been really appreciative because the funds the county gave us to help the after-school program and the senior programs was really there to be the safety net that it was, government is usually for. And we appreciate all that you've done and your leadership on that. We have heard from Noel earlier that sometimes there is a delay in getting some payments from other support places, and we hope that the county will invest in our summer care program and continue the support, and our partnership, of course, with remote learning and census and other things that we can do together in the future. We want to thank you so much for your leadership.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. Thank you for being with us. Our next speaker is David Locklear, representing Mount Vernon United Tenants, and he will be followed by Rachel Halpern and Amelia Guzman Santana.
Good evening, George. Known you for a while. 20 plus years, if I'm not mistaken.
Don't give away my age now.
No, never that. I'm only 67. Anyway, I've worked with Dennis Hanratty for 20 plus years. I've known you 20 plus years. I understand the relevance of housing. I understand the relevance of the work that Mount Vernon United Tenants has done. I've been an active part of it. As has been quoted, 150 plus evictions every year. And that's a small number. But more important than that, there was a young man here earlier who spoke about about the YMCA over in Yonkers. Our mayor-elect in Mount Vernon, Sean Patterson Howard, if I got the 2 last names right, a married name, and she kept the Mount Vernon Y open for 10 years when the budget was about to shut it down. And she did it by closing the weight room and turning that into childcare. There have been several influential people in Mount Vernon who have done wonders to help the city of Mount Vernon. Too little is said about the people, the little people, who do so much to help the city of Mount Vernon. And what bothers me the most, and I'm raising my voice on purpose, I can calm it down when we leave, but I'm raising my voice on purpose. Too little is being done to help the people who need it the most. It is a travesty that our government, not you personally, but the overall government, is not doing enough to put money where it's needed to do more. More money is going to the wrong places than the right places. And what we need right now, 1 minute is enough. What we need right now is all the people in the government to really sit back and think, what am I doing for the people? Kennedy said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. All right, all of us who work pay taxes. So for every day we pay taxes, whether it's from our paychecks, whether it's when we buy something, we are paying taxes. So therefore, we are doing for our country, our city, and our state. We're doing for everyone and everything. When? Please tell me when we can feel that the government is really giving back to us. when can we feel and really pledge allegiance to the flag? When do we feel like we're getting our tax value back? No problem. To everyone, thank you for your time, and I hope you heard me.
Thank you, David. Thank you for your testimony. Our next speaker is Rochelle Halpern, representing Legal Services of the Hudson Valley. She'll be followed by Amelia Guzman Santana, and then we have no further cards. So if there's anyone else who wishes to be heard after Ms. Guzman Santana, please go to the back table, get a speaker card so that we can include you at that point in time when we complete our in-room speakers. Then we will go to those who are here with us virtually. So next, Rochelle Halpern, Legal Services of the Hudson Valley.
Good evening. My name is Rochelle Halpern, and I'm the Chief Program Officer at Legal Services of the Hudson Valley. Legal Services is the only provider in the Hudson Valley of free, comprehensive civil legal services for individuals and families who cannot afford an attorney when their basic human needs are at stake. In 2019 in Westchester, LSHV handled 6,615 cases, which impacted a total of 15,300 household members. Westchester County has a long-standing history of supporting legal services, and we are so thankful for the support of the county executive and the Board of Legislators. Civil legal services are vital in a just society. Even before COVID hit, Westchester County was experiencing a serious affordable housing crisis. In 2019, there were 9,344 eviction petitions filed in Westchester, and that does not include the petitions in the county's 36 town and village courts. By all accounts, the COVID pandemic has exacerbated the housing crisis, and it is predicted that there will be a tsunami of evictions to follow. The partial moratoria issued by New York State and the federal government have been helpful to some tenants, but not all tenants are eligible. Further, tenants need attorneys to prove to the court their eligibility for protection under these moratoria. 95% of landlords who bring an eviction proceeding in housing court are represented by an attorney. In contrast, 95% of tenants appear in housing court without counsel. The consequences are dire. Families are evicted. They enter into unfavorable settlement agreements. They give up, move out, and become homeless. Legal Services prevents evictions and consequently saves Westchester County money. In 2019 alone, LSHV prevented 1,059 evictions in Westchester County, which has an estimated cost savings to the county of $21 million. We hope that the county will continue to invest in eviction prevention to provide access to legal representation to residents being evicted. These cases are about much more than simply paying the landlord back rent owed. They're about maintaining the limited and valuable supply of rent-stabilized and subsidized apartments in Westchester. They're about holding landlords accountable for maintaining habitable living conditions, and they are about equalizing the power imbalance and ensuring that the basic right of housing, before it is taken from a family, they're able to assert their legal rights in court. We support the Westchester Women's Agenda request of the 5% increase in funding, and again, we are grateful for the county's long-standing support for civil legal services. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rachel. I'm sorry. Our next speaker is Amelia Guzman Santana. I have no cards after this speaker. So again, if there's anyone who's in the room that wishes to be heard, please have a card filled out, and we'll include you after this speaker. And then if we have no speakers to follow, we will then go to any virtual speakers that we have that are awaiting testimony. Thank you for your patience.
It's my penmanship. It's Anitra Guzman Santana. Sorry, it's my
Forgive me.
bad.
Forgive me.
So
Thank
I'm
you.
with Family Service Society of Yonkers, and it's JCY Westchester Community Partners Division. 2020 has been tough. An understatement, I know. We are fully aware of the impact the coronavirus pandemic has had on every level of government. I ask that nonprofits are recognized as the on-the-ground foot soldiers in the community, putting county-funded dollars to work to support those hardest hit. As the challenges did not abound for our low-income households, our youth and seniors prior to the pandemic, it's been made clear that this gap has been exacerbated. During the height of the pandemic, FISI transitioned services, including guardianship and home care, to virtual and telesupport, and when safe and necessary, in person, because we are essential workers. We successfully relaunched our literacy support programs as virtual e-tutoring a month after schools were closed, providing a much-needed service to overwhelmed, distressed, unequipped families. More than 1 hour of one-on-one e-tutoring each week for every child, as well as student advocacy when needed. So far this year, our program coordinators have managed over 300 students from 25 different schools, as well as children in our kinship support program who are at a dramatic disadvantage. We turned our core of senior volunteers into tech-literate e-tutors through countless trainings, allowing them to maintain the lifeline to their purpose-filled work in a time when isolation was, and still is, wreaking havoc on mental and emotional health. We have over 350 active senior volunteers and dozens more under 60. FISI has discovered creative service methods, employed strategic partnerships, and reinvented itself to meet the challenges we are facing as a community. For example, we partnered with a Mount Kisco-based tech company to get refurbished computers in the hands of families in our programs that needed it most. We are delivering food and essential items to our kinship families and elderly guardianship clients on a monthly, in some cases more frequent basis, as need dictates. We've maintained healthy kinship households, serving 185 families, with 99% of children remaining with their caregiver or reunited with parents to prevent foster care. We're operating tirelessly because FISI is committed to our mission and purpose in Westchester County, but we need continued county funding in order to do so. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anitra. Again, my apologies for misreading what was in front of me instead of knowing a person that I've spoken to before. My apologies. Thank you very much. We have no other speakers scheduled to speak. We've made the call a couple of times for anybody in the room, so I'm going to assume that there are no other speakers that wish to be heard. And now we'll go to the virtual part of this. I'm not exactly sure what the logistics look like. I know that for whoever is in the room, you won't be able to see the monitor that I'm looking at unless there's I'm sorry, I take it back. It's a much larger monitor over there that I didn't see. So you'll pay attention there. And I'll turn to Catherine Chaffee so we know how to proceed from here. May I ask the people that are going to be on the WebEx, have they watched the testimony to this point?
Yes, they have.
Okay, very good. So I don't need to repeat the ground rules or anything.
No, they've watched already. If you are tuning in on WebEx and you'd like to speak, please let us know in the Q&A section of the WebEx, and we will add you to the queue. When it is your time to speak, I'll say your name, and you will be unmuted, and you'll be able to enable your video if you desire. The first person to speak is Margaret Kaufer. Margaret, whenever you're ready.
Hi, how are you tonight? Is that working so far?
Looks
so
great.
far, so
yes.
good.
Great. Happy to be the first one. I am speaking for the STEM Alliance tonight, and we are asking for really urgent support for our Digital Equity Now initiative. This program works to place a device, a hotspot connectivity, and 15 hours of tech education in the hands of any low-income resident in the county. Everyone knows from the situation as it is right now this year that we have exposed not just remote learning problems, but really that there have been two parallel tracks on which people have been living in our county based upon whether or not they have the ability to afford internet and a device and whether or not they've been exposed to the tech skills to use them. The time is now to end that digital divide, and our work in the county is doing that work already, but we certainly need support. The evidence is very, very clear. Statistics show that there are easily 31,000 people in the county who do not have a device in their home, and probably over about 51,000 who do not have an internet subscription. So this intervention, what makes it different and very, very impactful is that we work with other community-based organizations. They identify the clients and the cohorts that have needs, and we provide the tech education and source the devices and provide the backup tech support and warranties and such. ownership is a very, very important element of ending the digital divide. And I think that it is incredibly important that the county has invested in workforce reskilling. But unfortunately, we have to crawl before we can walk. And there's been decades of ignoring the fact that we have folks who don't have the initial core requirements to really even move into the reskilling. And so we need to invest earlier on in this process of having folks with the resources in their homes to become more technologically savvy and fluent. These programs are already making a difference, and we're seeking to expand them so that year after year we have more people who have been given these packages and can bit by bit make the difference that our county will end the digital divide for the residents in this community.
Margaret, thank you very much. We appreciate it, and you're welcome to submit, as all speakers, anything in writing that you think would be helpful for us to see as we go through our budget deliberations.
Thanks.
And just a quick reminder, if anybody would like to submit written testimony, they can email it to communications@westchestergov.com. westchestergov.com, communications@westchestergov.com. Just a quick little housekeeping note for those tuning in on WebEx. Ellen, if you could wave very quickly, just wave for us. She will be keeping time for you, and you'll see her hold up the signs as you're approaching the 1 minute and the final mark when your time to speak is done. The next speaker that we have is Judith Watson. And Judith, we're ready when you are.
Mute. Okay. Hi. Good evening. Can everyone hear me? Okay.
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Very good. Very good. Good evening, everyone, and thank you all so much for this opportunity. County Executive Latimer, I just wanted to thank you for your leadership, you and your team, Chairman Boykin, and all of the members of the Westchester County Board of Legislators for the way that you all have conducted yourselves throughout this pandemic. As a person who served this country in the United States Army for 3 years, I am proud that there are politicians such as yourselves who could have conducted yourself with such dignity and grace through this pandemic. So I condemn you for that. I commend you for that. And I thank you for the opportunity tonight to speak on behalf of the Mount Vernon Neighborhood Health Center. I know that I'm preaching to the choir. You're a native Mount Vernon person. And I wanted to thank you for the support that you provided to the health center last year. But I'm here tonight to ask you to please consider additional funding to Mount Vernon Neighborhood Health Center and our 8 sites throughout Westchester County, in that we're here providing health care to everyone, regardless of ability to pay, regardless of immigration status. There are hundreds of facilities now, urgent care facilities and otherwise, who are providing primary health care services, but no one sees patients regardless of ability to pay or their immigration status. That's what we do at the Mount Vernon Neighborhood Health Center. Our patients are disproportionately uninsured. They're disproportionately impacted with every illness that you can think of, including COVID, dying disproportionately, Black and brown people dying disproportionately from COVID. And in the middle of the pandemic, when it hit and peaked in March of this year, we were there. We remained open and accessible, not only to Mount Vernon Neighborhood Health Center patients, but to other patients whose primary care providers had shut down 1 minute ago. We established the first walk-up COVID testing facility in the county of Westchester because people who are poor don't always drive, okay? And so we're here, we've been here in the community for 50 years. We intend to be here for many, many years to come, and we're asking you for your support in ensuring that we remain open, available, and accessible to folks, many of whom have no other place to go for healthcare. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Watson. We appreciate your time and your testimony.
Our next speaker will be Tracy Brown. Tracy, whenever you're ready.
I just want to, can you hear me now? Did you hear my introducing
Yes, we can hear you
myself?
now.
Okay, good. So Tracy Brown from Save the Sound. I want to thank Executive Latimer for your leadership in this really difficult time, and all of your staff. and for the opportunity to make some comments tonight. As a representative of Save the Sound and a Westchester resident, I want to speak about the work that the county has been engaged in and very committed to around a clean environment and especially clean water. As we've learned during the pandemic, environmental health and pollution has a direct correlation when we come into crises like COVID, and people who are living in communities that are dealing with, ongoing polluted conditions in their water and their air have a harder time fighting off COVID and other illnesses. And so this, really relates to what a lot of the other speakers were talking about. And, my comment really is just for us to keep the long view on pollution and in particular, the investments that the county can make now to reduce local pollution that will provide us dividends going forward in terms of cost savings and savings to the health and quality of life of our residents. So specifically, I would just like to call out, I know there's a move within the county to electrify the county fleet and to reduce our dependence on fossil fuels. I know this does require an upfront investment, but it will save us money in the long run. So as we face this budget crisis, I hope that you'll still be able to make some of these investments with that long view in mind. I also would like to encourage the county to continue to work on the wastewater infrastructure improvements and consolidation that I know the executive is committed to. If we can improve our wastewater infrastructure, we can reduce usage at the plants, we can save money ultimately on the electricity and the chemicals and the labor, and we can also improve the air quality and the quality of life for residents in communities where our plants are located. And then, planting Westchester is one other effort that I think is, critically important, and it's going to help our residents as we face the next crisis, which is likely to be something related to weather and warming, just to be focusing on healthy outdoor spaces, preserving our outdoor spaces and cooling locations that communities really need in these coming years. So just want to thank you for your leadership on these issues and really encourage you to keep the momentum going as you face, such a challenging budget.
Thank you very much, Tracy. We appreciate your testimony.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Susan Abbott. Susan, whenever you're ready.
Much. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Apologies. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity. On behalf of the staff and the Board of Arts Westchester, we thank you for your support and leadership in these unprecedented times. My name is Sue Abbott. I'm the Director of Grant Programs at Arts Westchester. We understand that Westchester County and the world at large are facing incredible challenges, and while we are hopeful for the future, there is still a lot of uncertainty. Let me assure you that despite the havoc caused by the COVID-19 virus, the arts community has rallied in an extraordinary manner to continue to provide engaging cultural programs for county residents. Our county-funded organizations have further dedicated themselves to continuing their programs, streaming live concerts, creating online education programs, and sanitizing and making safe their facilities for in-person activities with social distancing. They have done so at tremendous financial cost and demonstrated considerable ingenuity in pivoting programs into virtual applications. The result of this activity has been a plethora of cultural opportunities for Westchester residents and a surprising increase in audiences and outreach. Arts Westchester is driven by a mission to make the arts and culture accessible to anyone in Westchester. This remains true even during a pandemic, with each cultural site committed to engaging their audiences safely in new and creative ways. Arts Westchester is also committed to growth and strengthening infrastructure, as evidenced by our recent undertaking of EDIA policy development and working closely with the staff and board to ensure our programs and policies meet all current measures for equity, diversity, inclusion, and access. We have taken into consideration the county's challenging budget process and the ability of the arts to help, heal, inspire, and educate. As members of NPW, we also know that this is an unbelievably difficult time for all of our fellow nonprofit groups, and that there are serious challenges in the community in terms of housing, food insecurity, mental health, and the list goes on. We see the cultural industry sector as an important part of the county's recovery. With this in mind, we respectfully ask that the county preserve level funding for Arts Westchester for the 2021 contract so that we can continue to support the important work currently underway. With the county's great support in 2020, particularly in the Challenge Matching Grant Program, we have been able to add some 60 organizations into the eligibility pool, most of them smaller grassroots organizations who are now challenged to fundraise using county dollars to leverage. This will generate necessary additional funding for these groups, helping them continue to operate and offer their programs for the future. We thank you for the county's support and hope you'll consider level funding for the 2021 contract.
Thank you very much, Sue. We appreciate your testimony.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Bram Fierstein. Bram.
Greetings. George, Mia sends her best, and fellow legislators, I thank you for coming to New Rochelle's the hometown of the New Rochelle YMCA. I am the vice chair, recently demoted from chair, and a resident of New Rochelle as well. And I want to talk about how the county has, for the first time in a very unusual year, been able to help us, to fund us and to make us thrive. We were already reimagining the Y when COVID hit. We are no longer just a gym. We are no longer just a pool, although our pool is open and thriving, and we have many new programs, and membership in those areas are very exciting for us. People who have never been to the New Rochelle Y are using it for the first time. And the investment you made this year was critical to us. And I would really hope that the county can consider us one of their gems in the rough. And there are a lot of rough gems right now, unfortunately. And continue to fund us and to continue to fund all the nonprofits in Westchester. The county is really our lifeline. The federal government was great with the PPE, but it really has not focused on nonprofits. And we are major employers in the county, and we do very important work. Thank you very much for allowing me to join you tonight.
Bram, thank you for joining us. Thank you for your testimony.
The next speaker is Patrick Scheel. Patrick, whenever you're ready.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Latimer. My name is Patrick Shelley. I'm a social worker and community advocate with Alternatives to Incarceration Coalition and in partnership with the Anti-Racist Alliance of Westchester. I wanted to ask you if you're aware that 14% of Westchester's youth are Black, yet they comprise 62% of the detention population. Recently, we have formed our coalition consisting of youth, parents and caregivers with lived experience, helping professionals and concerned citizens to put a spotlight on the practice of incarcerating our youth unnecessarily. We are currently focused on Woodfield Cottage. I'm sure you're aware of Woodfield Cottage, our detention center. They are looking to expand Woodfield Cottage and to expand it to 60 to 80 beds, having it be a secure facility for youth ages 7 to 18. Yes, we incarcerate youth at the age of 7. We find this to be inhumane and unjustifiable. I'm suggesting to you and the legislative team to think of a few bills that could be passed on a county level to effect change. Limit by statute the category of youth who are eligible for incarceration to those who have committed serious crimes or present a danger to society. Currently at Woodfield Cottage, there are many youth that are in detention that have not committed serious crime. Number 2, we would ask for you to create a youth justice board with oversight of the collection of data and outcomes, accountability by tracking youth from point of contact with police through their success after release from incarceration. This would also help us examine the racial disparities and monitor conditions of confinement. I thank you for taking the time to listen to our concerns this evening, and I hope to speak to you soon.
The next speaker is Michael Weitzman. Michael, when you're ready.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes. I just want to say first to Executive Latimer and the staff, you guys have been doing an amazing job. I'm not just saying it just for the hell of it. The thing I want to talk about, George might know that I'm pretty much in the mental health field, dealing with mental illness. I'm someone that recovered from mental illness. I'm a peer support specialist and a professional speaker, performer, advocate, and mental health stand-up comedian. But the point I'm trying to make is that we had such a problem with mental illness and mental health way before the pandemic. And I'm doing whatever I can do in my part to help people with their mental health. But since we've had the pandemic, isolation, which is one of the biggest symptoms of mental illness, has gone rampant. People are suffering so much with their mental health and their mental illness, and it needs to be addressed more than ever in our Westchester area, also besides in the world. So the problem is that people are losing their jobs. People are having problems paying rent, paying their bills, paying insurance, whatever the case may be, and mental illness is now in the spotlight more than ever, and we need to do something. So all I'm asking in the town, especially regarding our Westchester area, is please do not cut anything that deals with mental illness or helping people with mental health, especially now during the pandemic, which is not even close to being over. So all I'm asking is that, because usually mental health is one of the areas in the budgets that they cut, and it gets very frustrating since I'm in the mental health field, work for a psychiatric hospital, and do my part to help people. So that's really my message, to do whatever you can to try to expand instead of cut the budgets regarding mental health in Westchester.
Michael, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Thank you.
The next speaker is Margaret Watson. And just as a reminder, if you'd like, you can also turn your camera on as well as your microphone. If anybody else is interested in speaking on the WebEx, please let us know in the Q&A section of the WebEx, and we will add you to the queue. Margaret?
Before Margaret speaks, if we have the affiliation of the various speakers, now hang on just 1 second, Ms. Watson. As we have the affiliation of the various speakers, can we announce that at the time that we announce their name as well? That helps us keep track of the advocacy position they're in. Ms. Watson, please go ahead.
Hi, I'm Tavius McCleary, Margaret Watson. We're roommates. I'm calling basically, we've been living in Mount Vernon for 3 years. And as a senior citizen, I noticed there was a couple of things that was a hindrance. One, crossing the streets because there's no stop sign. You have to go halfway into the middle of the street to see if the light is red or green. And I was kind of amazed about that because stop signs are all over the city of New York, and I couldn't understand why they're not in Mount Vernon. The other question I had was repavement of the streets. The back street behind me has been with potholes as big as, they're extremely huge. And they have been like that for 3 years. And I'm like, why isn't anything being done to repave the roads in Mount Vernon? Why aren't they not being given government subsidies for these roads to be repaired? And for stop signs, we have school kids that go to school and elderly that's trying to cross the street. And it's very difficult. You have to step halfway into the middle of the street to see if there's if the light is red or green. The other thing that affects somebody who lives at the beginning of Mount Vernon, if I have to take the train, this MTA system, the 2 train, there's no elevator and there's like 2 sets of steps. And so if you're having there are a lot of senior citizens in this area. And so if you have to climb those steps every day, it's very difficult, and coming down is the same way. And I would like to know why they have never planned, or maybe they did before I got here to Mount Vernon, to put an elevator at 241st Street. I think that would be a great idea if they can. That's it. That was my question.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Watson. You raised 2 questions that are the province of the city of Mount Vernon. Hopefully the notes that we take, we will refer to the city relative to the street that needs repair. And then also the question of elevator service at 241st Street Subway is part of the MTA New York City bus and subway system. But even though they're not on our docket, we'll make sure that those concerns get expressed to the right folk. And if we have Ms. Watson's address or other information, we can connect her to them so she can follow up with her advocacy there.
Yes, thank you very much.
You're welcome, ma'am.
At this time, we have no other speakers. If anybody else is interested in speaking, please let us know in the Q&A section. We'll be glad to add you to the queue. But at this time, we've gone through the list of speakers.
If there's anyone in the room who has joined us since we last had in-room testimony, this will
All right, Margaret Boo. I'm proud of you. I don't know.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay, good evening. Good evening and thank you for this opportunity to speak on behalf of JCY Westchester Community Partners, a division of the Family Service Society of Yonkers, which today is working in several communities in Westchester to help students to take their education online in the midst of this current pandemic. With that in mind, I want to tell you about one program that I worked with recently. It kicked off on July 20th on Zoom when I met Tori, a primary school student living with her mother in a compact, well-organized apartment in Yonkers. Tori was eager to read, very eager to read. But what and with whom? She needed someone who could help her sound out unfamiliar names and understand new words. Someone who could share the wonder of plot twists and marvel at how well she navigated them, dialogue and all. Tori's school had ended virtually a few weeks earlier, and she was smart, but she was already a bit bored and eager to get herself in gear for third grade. The more she read aloud to me, the wild chatterings of Dr. Seuss's Loraxes, Roald Dahl's irate farmers, and others, the more emotion we both tried to pack into the words. It was fun. My role was to share books on her screen via Zoom. Typically, she would read a page or two, and I'd read the next couple. The hardworking staff at JCY had laid the groundwork for us. They had set me up with links to the Yonkers Public Schools official grade by grade 2020 summer reading list. They also had provided me with guidance on how I could check out the digital copies of books via Hoopla, Read Squared, etc., and then share them with Tori on my screen via Zoom. We met Tuesdays and Thursdays for at least a half hour each in online breakout rooms that JCY staffers set up for us. And there, with a major assist from Tori's mom, she took off. Our official goal was to log in as read one book each week, but some of them had well over 100 pages. No way, I thought. Yet at the end of each week, Tori, now clearly on a roll, enlisted her mom or her aunt to help her read each book to the end and duly to enter it on her summer reading. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm sorry.
Mr. Ibsen, thank you for the testimony describing the nature of the services that you're provided at JCY. If you'd like to provide any other information in written fashion, we would welcome it.
Thank you. It was my pleasure and honor.
Are there any other virtual testimonies?
No, at this time we have no other testimonies.
Okay. The time actually, clock that I'm looking at here, it says 8:01 on the actual time clock, 8:05 in the room. So I think we'll give it a 10-minute wait. Anyone that wishes to testify in the next 10 minutes will be happy to accept their testimony. And then at 8:10, unless we have a number of people that come in just at the end of that, then we'll conclude the meeting. We'll sort of recess in place until and unless we hear either an in-person or a virtual individual who wants to testify. Thank you.
To those who are just tuning in now on the WebEx, the public hearing is still going on. We are in a bit of a break as we wait to see if any more speakers arrive. If you are
All right, for those who may be
interested in
watching
speaking-
still virtually, we have no additional testimony here in the New Rochelle City Council chamber. I gather we have no further individuals who wish to speak on the virtual. So we're going to bring this forum to a close. We want to thank New Rochelle City Council, Mayor Noam Bramson, members of the City Council, and Chuck Strom, the City Manager, for making this room available to us for this session. We also want to thank publicly Catherine Chaffee, our Director of Communications, and the people that she has working with her to put on this program. Rather different, but really has been quite interesting. And from our staff, Ellen Hendricks, Emily Saltzman, Peter McCart, and Diane Atkins, all of whom were here tonight, as well as Michael Brown with the county as well. So we thank you all for your involvement. We thank you if you're still watching. Tomorrow night we will do this again at 7 o'clock, broadcasting from the Mount Kisco Public Library, other end of the county, where we will take in-room testimony, followed by virtual testimony. And again, as we opened up with, we will accept any written testimony by email. Communications@westchestergov.com is a good email address for that purpose. And we'll take all of that input as we have our discussions. The budget will be presented to the Board of Legislators on November 10th. And then they will establish, I think they've already established dates, but they will announce public hearings in advance of further discussion of the budget. And generally, we have a meeting of the Board of Legislators in early to mid-December to finalize the budget. And so that's how we'll roll until we get to the new year and hopefully a changed and a better year ahead of us. So I'm George Latimer, Westchester County Executive. Thanks for participating. We appreciate it. Have a good night and stay safe.